everybody. October is upon us. Actually, almost November. And what that means is that the preview of 2020 Wave 2 is available. Hopefully everyone out there has gone out there, created a new sandbox of the preview environment, take a peek at some of the new features and functionality. But I am a realist, and I understand that most people probably have not, because it's my full-time job to do this kind of stuff, and I still was pushing it off as long as I possibly could. So with that said, what we're going to do during this little segment here is cover some of the new features and functionality that I checked out in the preview, which may soon be upon us here in the next couple days. And I want to give you some feedback on what I saw. Let's focus specifically on the application and user experience features, right? So we're not, there's development, service, platform, Microsoft 365. Those are all kind of technical things and integrations. I want to focus on for the end user.
Just your average Business Central user.
Yeah. What do you need to be aware of here as an end user? So let's start off. You log in. What you're going to see now is a new little, I guess almost button up on the very top of the ribbon, up on the top where you have your gear icon where you can pick your company and everything. And what it does is it shows you the environment that you're in. And what you can do is you can click on that and it will show you, it opens up a drop-down menu of all of your environments and the companies within each environment. So in a single click, you can move into a different environment, different company, or just a different company. Like let's say you're working in your production environment and you have 5 companies and you do work for more than one of those companies. You can quickly toggle into one of those other companies in a single click. So, or even different, like one of your sandboxes. I want to go into one of my sandboxes and check that out, check something over there.
Nice.
Or you're one of the organizations that has multiple production environments.
Is there something you have to enable to see that?
No,
No?
it's just right there. So that's there. So switching between environments and companies significantly, I don't want to say significantly, much easier though.
Less clicks.
If you have more than one company or more than one production environment, this is going to really make your life easier. Okay. Now the second thing is what they are referring to as the modern action bar. So now, right, anytime you open up a page, let's say a customer list or a custom item card, you've got your action ribbon along the top, and it's got like, let's say on the customer card, you've got your home button, then a related button, actions button, and those open up sub-menus. They've done 2 things with the new, quote, modern action bar. The first thing is that they've moved some stuff around to make it more consistent across pages. So like you find similar things in the same spots.
Gotcha.
Currently, there's some differences. On this page it's over here, on that page it's over there. Right. And they've kind of taken a lot of effort to streamline and make those options consistent. The second thing they've done is they've added a ton of personalization capabilities. So let's say there's a particular button that you use all the time, and currently it's under related, customer, and then cross-references or something. And you go into cross-references all the time. You can go into personalize, and move that option right up onto the top of your action bar. Right? You can also hide stuff or move other things, right? Because that in your role, those are things that you do.
Right.
So to me, those are some, especially that one is really nice. And it's going to allow people to really clean up their own pages for themselves based on what they do every day.
Yeah.
Which is very nice, right?
It's also really good for role specific. right? If
Correct.
available, just make it
Yeah,
easier for people.
even like if you've got, maybe you have like 6 or 8 people who are customer service reps. But even within that group, they may do things differently. I work with this customer more, so they have cross references off a lot. I access that all the time. So I'm going to move that. Someone else in my group, maybe they don't have customers that use cross reference numbers. They don't move that, right? So it's just giving the user more power, more control to make themselves more efficient and kind of clean up some clutter, hide some stuff that they don't need to see.
Sounds nice.
Now, you're sitting there, Michael, saying, Ken, that is all great, but I'm really used to how I have things set up now. And all of a sudden, am I going to come in? Am I going to go into Business Central on October 24th and all my shit's going to be gone?
Yes, no.
The answer is no. This modern action bar is something that you can enable as an organization through the feature management page.
Great.
Okay. So even once you upgrade to 2022 Wave 2 or version 21, you should not see any action bar changes. So at some point you will have the ability. Now, version 24, which is what, 18 months out? At that point, the new modern action bar becomes the default.
Oh, really?
So you have literally like 18 months to go in and enable it. Now, in new environments, like if someone's just created, just signed up for Business Central and they're starting off, it will be auto-enabled, right, by default. But if you're an existing customer with a live production environment, you've got 18 months to go in there, train your people, and figure it out. Okay, so those are the first things. Right when you log in and you start navigating, those are a couple big things. Now let's get into a little bit more. A third thing related to that is you're going to see Power Automate menu options all over the place. If you're not using Power Automate or you don't want users to see that, usually probably because you're not using it very much,
right?
You can turn all that off and get rid of it. Now,
in the feature management,
no, right? But that's what she has. Like, well, where do I go to do this?
Right.
This is not something you would figure out unless you had information like help. There's a page called Privacy Notices Status.
Who knew?
Right? And on this Privacy Notice Status page, you see that there's Power Automate listed there, and you can set it to disallow or disagree to privacy sharing for Power Automate for all users. And that will basically kind of remove it. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of a little thing. Now let's get into specific features, functions. Power BI, right? It's embedded into there. Currently on the Role Center page, you only have one Power BI window pane, right? There is now the ability to add multiple Power BI charts onto a Role Center.
Nice.
However, none of the out-of-the-box Role Centers currently have more than one Power BI chart displayed. Really? So instead, if you go into the online help, you'll see that it'll say what you need to do is you can create your own Role Center, and there's a template or a sample of how you do it. Okay, so it is.
I'm a fan of that, I guess,
right?
But
yeah, baby steps.
Exactly, it's a stepping stone for sure.
Yeah. So I do love the fact that they appreciate that users do probably want to see more than one Power BI chart on their Role Center.
Yeah.
Right. So
manually having to switch.
This is a way that you can accomplish that. Now you can in that one window today, if you have Power BI chart, you can change the chart that you're looking at.
Right.
But you can only look at one at a time today. So this changes that. Okay. All right. All right. Next, anyone who's used Navision, Nav, or BC, and you're in the financial area before, you know about account schedules. Account schedules are effectively your financial statements, right? Well, they've finally taken the leap to rename account schedules to financial reporting. So now you no longer see account schedules anywhere. You see financial reporting listed on the menu.
Do you like that?
I love it.
Changed, yeah.
I love it, right? Because for 20 plus years, I've been having to explain new terminology to people about what is account schedules, and sometimes the terminology just doesn't make sense, right?
Gotcha.
So now it's called financial reporting. They've also changed the structure of it. So this also used to be kind of not intuitive completely. The account schedule names were actually sets of rows, and then account schedule column layouts were sets of columns. And you just assigned a default column to each name, but then you could change the column layout if you wanted, and kind of to train people. What they've done now is they've created what they call row definitions and column definitions.
Okay.
So you can create an unlimited number of row definitions, an unlimited number of column definitions. And then the financial reporting name itself is simply a description with one row definition and one column definition set.
Okay.
So you can create an unlimited number of those, but it's really just a combination of rows and columns that you want to see together. So I like it. You can also copy one financial report, again, just a combination of rows and columns, to a new one, change your column format, give it a new name. So it's pretty quick to create a new one.
Nice.
And then really sweet, you can, let's say you have multiple companies or multiple environments, and you've set up all your account schedules or financial reporting in one company, but now you're going live or you're deploying a new company. You can export your financial reporting, one financial report. It behind the scenes builds a configuration package with everything it needs. Then you can go into a different Business Central company environment and import the financial report. And it builds the column layouts, row layouts, and financial reporting.
Sounds like a huge time saver.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I love it. I've always been a huge fan of account schedules. I was a little skeptical, but it's all great. So far, I ran into no gotchas or issues on that.
How long do you think it'll take you to drop the account schedules terminology?
For me personally, like the
you're gonna be saying it.
No, financial reports is much.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
It's financial reporting. Yeah. So not long. Okay. Couple more to go. So this is a little bit in the weeds, but like when you set up a vendor, right? You may have a vendor that you buy from, but you remit your check or payment to a different address. In the past, you would have a separate pay to vendor, but then the vendor ledger entries would get written under that pay to vendor.
Okay.
And it just created some confusion for people. So they've created a new entity, a new table with under the vendor called remit to addresses. So you can now have one vendor that has 1 or 5 different remit to addresses. So it's a simpler, cleaner setup, right? And then when you go to create a purchase order or a purchase invoice, you can set which remit to address you want that invoice to be paid for. Now, unfortunately, on this one, I do have a gotcha. When you go into so what I did was I created 2 invoices, one for remit to same vendor, one for remit to 1, another invoice for remit to 2. I went into a payment journal. I ran suggest vendor payments. I ran it 1 line per invoice, basically. And in the numbering and the document number, it assigned the same document number to both of those invoices, which means it would potentially print 1 check for both of those instead of honoring the remit to address.
Why do you think that was? It's
possible I did something wrong. But again, maybe that's not too intuitive if that's like the case, because it should, if it knows that, because on the vendor ledger entry, you could see remit to 1, remit to 2.
Yeah.
It should know that I need to create 2 different checks. because I'm paying that to two different remit
things, but
tos.
it doesn't.
So possible I did something wrong. So I don't want to say that's a gap there quite at this point, but I did struggle with that on my first time.
Sounds like something that needs to be in a minor update.
So be careful about that. Okay, so now I'm gonna save the best for last. But before I do that, here's a few other features that they've added that are minor. I'm just gonna kind of rattle through these pretty
Okay.
quick.
User friendly?
Yeah, so first of all, if you use item variants, not many people do, but if you use item variants, there's now a way to force the user to pick a variant. That was not standard, so that's kind of cool. Item charges. They've made it easier for you to assign item charges in the case of partial receipts against purchase orders. There's a new 1096 form, which is related to 1099s in the United States.
Right.
So if that's relevant for you. They've made permission set improvements, the ability to exclude specific permissions from a permission set. And then they've updated the GP data migration, potentially sore subject here, but they've added banks and entries, accounting periods, the ability to limit the number of years of historical data to migrate over, posting groups, vendor EFT information, and open receivables and payables information.
That's ironic.
So they've added a lot of stuff there to that, right? Now, I saved the best for last because to me, this may be the coolest thing that they've added.
Okay, in this release.
Yeah. And this is what's called search in company data. Kind of a not the greatest name.
Sounds, yeah.
But if you go up into Tell Me and you say search in company data, what it does is it opens a I'm going to say Bing-like page where you have one field where you can type in some characters. It says you need to type in at least 3 characters. And what it does is it searches through a list of tables to find matches to the data that you typed in there.
Really?
So if you type in, for example, in a demo company, for example, FABR, right, which is the beginning of Fabricam.
Yeah.
Right, one of the vendors. It'll pull up the vendor, some posted invoices, vendor ledger entries, anything that
It has those
tables. Yep.
Really?
So it's kind of like a Bing Google search where it's searching across a bunch of tables throughout the database. Because I'm not sure exactly what I want to look for.
Let's say, why is it your favorite? Is it something that?
Because it's just something that users know. So here's an example. Customer calls us up and say, hey, what's the status of my PO number 12345?
Right.
Today, I would first have to go to sales orders, do a search on that number, and then I'll see it. Now I have to go over into posted invoices or posted shipments and search on 12345, see if I find it, right? And so this kind of potentially eliminates that, and it searches across all these places. Do we have any reference to this number in our system that you're giving me? Now, here's the gotcha. And again, grain of salt, one test. I created a sales order. In the external document number, I put P, 1022. I then went and did a search. It did not find the open sales order. Now, after I posted the sales order, I shipped and invoiced it. I then went and did the same search. It found the ledger entries, the posted shipment, and the posted invoice document.
Huh.
So for some reason, I think it wasn't searching through the open orders table. Again, I need to do more testing, but that's a little gotcha there. To me, it wasn't clear exactly which tables is it searching through. Because I can't imagine it's searching through every table in the whole database. There's like thousands of tables. It would take forever, right? So they had to kind of cherry pick.
Bing's pretty quick.
They had to cherry pick certain fields and tables that they want to do their searching on to make it quick.
Right? I don't know.
I don't know, but that's more, right? I'm sure people are gonna ask that question and there's gonna be
Yeah.
more information about it. But to me, that's a really cool user feature. When someone calls up on the phone and they go, hey, what's up with item number 123?
Yeah.
I can
just
go
type
in
it
123, I can see all the item ledger, like a bunch of entries about it, right? Does it even exist in the system yet?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
Well, if it's an open sales order, no.
yeah, so these are some of the, I just wanted after, these are some of my testing results after going in and testing this stuff out. Overall, I liked it. You know, there's a couple things that are like, but
Well, that's
overall,
not everything.
yeah, you're never gonna have everything all at once.
Right.
Right? There's no perfect system out there in the world.
No. I'm actually shocked I haven't heard of more organizations being updated with the version 21. I know they had a little bit of a delay. They postponed it in the beginning of the month, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen too many.
I'm not surprised. We've had
No?
the major
pretty
releases where it's the 30th of the month.
Yeah. They've been pretty quick the past
you
couple
know?
of major releases. So.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised at all. But overall, very good marks from this guy. So I was excited.
Ken's giving it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, Ken and I are going to look at some free apps that have a rating of 4 or better. We've picked a couple and we're going to talk about them. So
Yes, sir. All right. We have a first ever immediate clarification segment that we're adding in there. And so I need to clarify. So we in the new 2020-22 Wave 2 features segment, we talked about the search and company data. And I was talking about how it searched through certain tables and I wasn't sure where it was searching. If I would have just scrolled down the page more, I would have seen that there's actually a setup page that you can launch. And in this setup page called search setup list page, you can actually see the list of tables in there. And there's a checkbox column called search enabled. And you just have to go in there and check the other tables that you want to search through.
Nice.
And then there you go. Bada bing, bada boom.
So that's
It's
why you
there.
don't see it in sales orders.
So now I'm even more up on my search and company data feature. Number one feature being thrown out there in this release. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.